Yay. Okay, we're live. So welcome, everyone. We're here for another sutta discussion. And I got on this theme of the teachings and our relationship to the teachings. And I found this really lovely sutta that's got two parts. And it almost seems like we could do 2
Sure.
weeks on it, but I have worked on both sections of it. So we can just jump into it right now. I'm going to screen share. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. And we like to share. There we are. Okay. So can you
Yes.
see that well enough? I'm going to open this out more. Have to move this part. There it goes. Great.
And you're welcome to turn your cameras back on if you wish to have both directional video.
And just know you'll be on YouTube if
Yes.
you turn on your camera.
Yeah, we don't have the settings. So if you speak, you will be on YouTube. If you don't speak, you will not.
Or if your camera is on and you speak, your image will show up.
There you go. That's it.
Okay. So so this is a teaching. It's called Nandaka. And there's a venerable Nandaka who is known for his ability to teach the Dhamma. And well, we can just start the story. He teaches, he's teaching the assembly. Would you read?
Sure.
Yeah, we should just get through this part and then we'll get into the actual teachings. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namasami. So thank you for reminding me of that.
it helps
chant, we
settle
chant,
me.
we chant before out of respects to the teaching. So would you please
Should I
read?
start with on one occasion?
Yes, please.
On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Now, on that occasion, the Venerable Nandaka was instructing, encouraging, inspiring, and gladdening the bhikkhus in the assembly hall with the Dhamma talk. Then, in the evening, the Blessed One emerged from seclusion and went to the assembly hall. He stood outside the door, waiting for the talk to end. When he knew that the talk was finished, he cleared his throat and tapped on the bolt. The bhikkhus opened the door for him. The Blessed One then entered the assembly hall, sat down on the seat that was prepared for him, and said to the Venerable Nandaka, "You gave the bhikkhus a long exposition of the Dhamma. My back was aching when I stood outside the door waiting for the talk to end." When this was said, the Venerable Nandaka, feeling embarrassed, said to the Blessed One, "Bhante, I did not know that the Blessed One was standing outside the door. If I had known, I wouldn't have spoken so long." Then the Blessed One, having understood the Venerable Nandaka's embarrassment, said to him, Good Nandaka, it is proper for clansmen like you who have gone forth out of faith from the household life into homelessness to sit together for the sake of the Dhamma of a Dhamma talk. When you assemble Nandaka, you should do one of two things, either talk on the Dhamma or maintain noble silence.
So this is really sweet to me because it shows the Buddha's humility in a way. It's funny also because first he's waiting. He's not just assuming that he can barge in and interrupt a Dhamma talk. And so he just waits outside patiently. But then he does admit that his back is aching. There's only who spoke so so it just kind of shows his humanity, he's got this physical body. It gets tired, but he's also, commending Nandika. Now, don't feel bad, really. He was just being honest. That was quite a long talk you were giving. So anyway, so it's kind of, this is really sweet, I think, to me.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that is, and that, that we shouldn't be arrogant just because, we're a Dhamma teacher or something like that, or anybody. The Buddha was humble, a humble human being.
And just following the respectful norms of what bhikkhus did when the Dhamma was being spoken.
Yeah, so he was respecting the Dhamma.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we could go through. Then the Buddha, having said that, gives this teaching. I guess he just spontaneously just starts to give a teaching. So you have Bhante
I was just
Sujato.
looking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have it down
Yeah,
below
yeah.
as well. But
Yeah, he just goes boom right on in. And
he
for
just
example, here's Dhamma.
yeah, here's Vidama. Would you like to read the each item when
Okay,
we pause?
pause between each one.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Nandaka, a bhikkhu may be endowed with faith, but he is not virtuous. Thus, he is incomplete with respect to that factor. And that sentence threw me. But I think, yeah, okay, I see. May not be endowed, may be endowed with faith, but he is not virtuous. He is then incomplete with respect to that factor. He should fulfill that factor, thinking, how can I be endowed with faith and also be virtuous? But when a bhikkhu is endowed with faith and is also virtuous, then he is complete with respect to that factor.
Well, wait a minute. Do I have any? Not the whole. Do you have the?
I'll go to are you reading? Is this Bhikkhu Bodhis we're looking at here?
You're reading.
I was reading from your excerpt.
Okay, I'm not seeing the same. I kind of got lost. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, well, I was confused. So
Okay, so
maybe my confusion was shared and maybe it wasn't.
okay, so a bhikkhu or anyone
Mhm.
may be faithful, and we'll look at the different translations of these words, but they're not virtuous. So they're incomplete with respect to that factor. So they're not complete in that they're not virtuous. They may be full of faith. And at the time of the Buddha, a lot of people came to well, also in Buddhist countries, out of this faith, they go take on robes, but then they're not keeping their sila well, their ethical conduct well, and so they're not complete. And then they should realize that, and then they say, "How can I be endowed with faith and also virtuous?" So he doesn't explain how that's done, but we can talk about that further down. We'll just go through the reading, I think.
Okay.
And unless you have an idea about that.
Well, I mean, I've seen people who are like, oh, it makes so much sense. It's just, and they seem so uplifted. And then they just go out and do something that's unethical. They, take something from somebody's tip jar or,
Yeah,
whatever.
but how do we become ethical?
And well, I think, I mean, there was an example of there was a Dhamma teacher who the student was saying, I just don't seem to be progressing, don't seem to be progressing. And he watched the student lift the corner of his zabuton as a spider was approaching and then squish it.
Oh.
I know. And and he explained, of course, it doesn't matter how much you think the Dhamma is wonderful or how much you meditate
Yeah,
not be if you're behaving like that.
right.
And so to really look at those
Yeah,
things that we think are inconsequential and realize how much, I mean, like you did, you just shuddered that
right.
because you know how,
But then also to be with people who have the same ethics.
yeah,
Because not
big.
everybody would think that killing a spider was a terrible thing. In fact, they might have pesticides in their house or something like that. And we have people gathering from, you were starting to have a local community. And there was this one man, and he was talking about he was meditating, and the ants were biting him, and he was just very carefully trying to remove them. And he was saying, I need to keep my house cleaner. Not that he wanted to kill the ants, but he was trying to figure out ways to uh to live in harmony, you know. And so we had this discussion, and some people would just think you're nuts if you're not just wiping out the insects in your house,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm,
So to be around other people with the same ethical values,
mhm.
so that's one way to, but it says how can I be endowed with faith and also be virtuous? So the virtuous is kind of a, I don't know, has a kind of strong sense to it, but
Sila, I think.
ethical.
I
And
think.
well, we'll get down to the other translations of
Yeah.
that word. So would you read number 2, please?
Sure. And what helped me, I'm really tired, didn't sleep well, but what I've noticed is what we're starting to do is step through the training. And it's saying, oh, okay, you start maybe with some faith and then you get some virtue, and now we're going to go to the next step. So number 2,
Yes, please.
a bhikkhu may be endowed with faith and virtuous, but he does not gain internal serenity of mind. Thus, he is incomplete with respect to that factor. He should fulfill that factor, thinking, how can I be endowed with faith and virtuous and also gain internal serenity of mind? But when a bhikkhu is endowed with faith and is virtuous and also gains internal serenity of mind, then he is complete with respect to that factor.
Yeah, it is building here. Like one who has faith has that uplift of joy, one who has ethics, keeping their sila well, has no regret. And then the mind can settle into samadhi, but maybe this person is having difficulty with that still. So to again, to other people, the people who are more accomplished than you are, someone who uh, is known to be, easily entering samadhi. Uh,
Like, for example, Anuruddha, Kimbala, and Nandia, when the Buddha visited, they had this faith, they had the sila, the virtuous behavior, but the Buddha asked them about their practice, and they're like, well, we start to settle, we start to see a light, and then it goes away. And then he gave them further instruction, and they all became arahants.
so yeah, to also just, yeah, that's a very complex issue about how to get the mind to settle
Yes,
and how to enter samadhi.
yes.
Um, but yeah, speaking to those who have are capable and skilled at entering at will. And then number
Three?
is it? Well, we
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, we're on three.
okay.
And he's speaking to bhikkhus, so I am using the word bhikkhu and he in here, but please understand this is for all of us. A bhikkhu may be endowed with faith and virtuous, and he may gain internal serenity of mind, but he does not gain the higher wisdom of insight into phenomena. Thus, he is incomplete with respect to that factor. Just as a four-legged animal with one lame or defective leg would be incomplete with respect to that limb, so too, when a bhikkhu is endowed with faith and is virtuous and gains internal serenity of mind, but he does not gain the higher wisdom of insight into phenomena, then he is incomplete with respect to that factor. He should fulfill that factor, thinking, how can I be endowed with faith and virtuous, gain internal serenity of mind, and also gain the higher wisdom of insight into phenomena?
Yeah, again, having people to help us with guide us with the wisdom and the insight. This is a beautiful word. We'll look at these words in detail, this Pali words. And they'll help us with the understanding of what's being said here too, I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and but when anyone, bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, layperson, endowed with faith and virtuous, gains internal serenity of mind and also gains the higher wisdom of insight into phenomena, then they are complete with respect to that factor. So this is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. And what occurred to me is this teaching is kind of a teaching in brief. It's kind of an outline.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but then,
Nandaka's been speaking for a while, and so he's
yeah,
just given a
well,
nugget at this moment.
the Buddha's also had an aching
Yeah,
back.
he's got an aching back.
He stood outside, has an aching back, and he still gives this teaching, which is really a beautiful thing. And then, so here I have the Pali. Yatakocha Nandika Bhikkhu Sadocha Hoti Silawacha Labicha Ajatang Chetaso Samadhisa La Bicha Adipanya Dhamma Vipassanaya Evam so ten Nangena Paripura Hoti. So we have these words here. I think I have Bhikkhu Bhante Sujata's translation of this too somewhere. So this is Bhikkhu Bodhi's.
If you scroll down just a little bit more,
Yeah,
it's there.
you will find it. Yeah. So endowed with faith, this is Sado, is virtuous, Hoti Silawa, gains internal serenity of mind. Labi cha ajatam cheto samadhisa. So you see there's cheto is mind or heart, and samadhi isa is that's of mind. And then the last one gains higher wisdom of insight into phenomena. La bicha adipanya. See, this is higher wisdom. Adipanya. Dhamma vipassanaya. So this insight into the Dhamma, into phenomena. It would be, well, if you were doing Dhamma nupassana, it's the insights. So I have from the digital Pali translator. very kindly. I can just cut and paste and put it together. So we have this sada, and this is a word. Some of these words is good for us to know because there's so many different ways it's translated, and faithful, confident, believing, devoted, trusting, placing the heart.
Like that.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful translation, but it's coming from the heart. It's a heart experience, the sada. And so this is interesting. This is the starting point. He talks about the person having sada, but not being virtuous. And it may be even that this person is not impeccable in their virtue, but they're good enough. They're not doing things that would kick them off of the monastic path. But they're not entirely virtuous. They're not entirely ethical or not keeping the monastic code.
This word sada, I just looked at the roots of it, and the sad is the heart, but the root word in there is da, which is a standing. So where does my heart stand?
Mm-hmm.
It's very lovely.
So the sila the want makes it like somebody who possesses this. This is like their character.
Mhm.
It says literally having conduct quality. So their conduct is their quality. So that I would imagine that the Buddhists here talking about just really being impeccable, not just kind of like sliding off here and there, and whoops, I did this, and confessing, and if you're sliding off, um, I don't, that wouldn't be totally an unethical person. It's just like occasionally, being a little bit sloppy with the precepts. For the lay community, they have 5, and so that's really to be impeccable about 5 precepts, I think is real important. However many precepts one is holding, if it's 10 or 5 or how many, that we really to really make an effort to keep them as well as we can. And then when we break them, we consider why. Why was that? Did I do that out of greed? Did I do that out of anger? Did I do that because some of our precepts we break because in this culture, it's difficult to understand
But
what
those
we're
are not
doing, the
ones
reason, but it's not
rooted in,
rooted in, if it's actually harmful to
right,
keep the precept.
right.
And
Give them an example, because I don't want them to think we're talking about.
well, no, the one that I
Okay.
always give is that we were not supposed to hand a lay person alms food that we've received. And then we've had the situation of being on the street with their alms bowls and people giving us more than we need. And there's hungry people.
Mhm.
There's people living on the street and they're hungry. And to put it on the sidewalk, to relinquish it would seem cruel to me. It would just be, heartless kind of. So that's one of the ones we break, is that from time to time. So then we confess it to our,
Mhm.
spiritual companion, and then but that's the reason that it's founded in wanting to be kind rather than I'm out of greed or something, or anger or something. So we look at what is the reason? Why did we break it? Was it out of mindlessness? We might even mention, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the time and whoops, I had something that wasn't allowable after the time. And so we admit to, yes, I wasn't being careful enough. Or we admit to, oh, that speech, this is one of the things that sometimes we get careless with our speech and we exaggerate or we're harsh in speaking with people. And so, so we just consider how can we keep our precepts as pure as possible, and then forgive ourselves and just make it a determination to uh, to do better. So the next one, this is the word Bhikkhu Bodhi translated as internal serenity of mind. So ajita, ajata, excuse me, ajata, Nandaka's better pronunciation. Inner, internal, personal, in oneself. And this is interesting, this adi atta, atta is self. So this is a conventional use of the word self. And cheto samadhi, stability of mind, stillness of mind, mental composure, cheto samadhi. Oh, I can see that my laptop is going to die.
Okay, I'll take care of it. You can keep talking. I saw your cord
Yeah, I
around here
forgot to
somewhere.
plug it in.
Here,
You
you
plug
go
it
ahead
in.
and keep
Okay.
talking, and I'll figure it out.
Thank you. Yeah, so if we go blank, that's why, but
I'm taking
quickly,
care of it.
quickly. Yeah, it's just really, but they have this tiny little indicator to let me know that the battery life is gonna be gone. It doesn't turn red until it just about dies. Okay, so then we have this word, uh, here the word adi is again, and adi is it's a higher kind of emphasis that perfected. How would you translate the adi?
I usually use higher.
Higher, yeah. That's usually translated as higher mind, perfected kind of. So it's translated here as deep understanding and insight into phenomena. And commentarial says insight, knowledge which grasps conditioned phenomena. That's beautiful. So this is a see, this is a like stages, like Nyanaka is saying, and it's almost like we have to perfect the sada which is interesting about this list too, is here, and it's often not, it's assumed or something maybe that there's sada, but here he's really explicitly saying that we should have, I mean, you wouldn't take, unless you have some spark at least of confidence or trust in the teaching, and then in the Dhamma, and in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you may not put all the effort it takes really to make this
I always kind of said I was not really a sada type, a faith type. But when I think back to when I was first encountering the Dhamma, and then I first went to Common Ground in Minnesota, I went and I said, I'm going to give this Buddhism thing a year, just kind of with a little bit of a skeptical, not sureness. And yet, really, very quickly, I was there literally every day, almost, during that year. And what I realized is really my heart had leapt up, so this placing the heart was happening, even though the cognitive part of me is like, I'm just checking this out. I'm just checking it out. Yep.
that's it, but that's a good way to do it, because you're balancing. See, then there's this balance of sada in the spiritual faculties, There's a
Mhm.
balance of the sada and the panya, the wisdom.
Right.
And so, so in a way, it seems sequential, but I think we're developing wisdom, and even though it may not be jhana, but as we do this practice, our minds will become, at least at times, more calm, more still, uh, more stable. More, see, these words here, this seems doable. Stability of mind, stillness of mind, mental composure. When you say jhanas, then it's that's so beyond me, or something like that. But so if we're developing these qualities of samadhi as we go along, it's going to help us see things clearly. And maybe it's not to the depth, if we're really accomplished in deeper states. But the wisdom will be developing too. So all of this develops over time. I think there's this whole feedback loop that goes, positive feedback loop that can happen if we're persistent. So this is Bhante Sujato's translation down here. This is Bhikkhu Bodhi's. But when a person is endowed with faith, virtuous, gains internal serenity of mind, and gains higher wisdom into phenomena, they are complete with respect to that factor. And Bhante Sujato says, when a mendicant is faithful and ethical and gets internal serenity of heart, so he likes the word heart for Cheta, and gets the higher wisdom of discernment of principles, they're complete in that respect. So there's the Pali again. And then I put this Sankitena Udesam, Udesa Sa. But because it seemed to me there was a brief teaching, a brief utterance.
Mhm.
So it is half past the hour. We could read through this. I think I just have yeah, I do have the sub-translation. Or would people rather have a discussion at this point? How are people feeling? Do you have questions? It looks like Nora has a, should I leave the screen share on, or I could put it in?
Let's turn it off and we can pull it up if anyone
I
needs it.
can get into, I'm going to put it onto gallery. There we go. All right. So Nora.
Oh, thank you so much, Ayas. I I have a question about the word factor. I'm having a sense as I'm listening to you, I have ordinarily thought that Dana, Sila, Panya, that they were one, two, three separate things. But then, as when you say the word, or the Pali says the factor, leading to this deeper wisdom, it's like I'm all of a sudden feeling like a hologram, like they're all interconnected, like they actually aren't separate. Okay, thumbs up from Aya and Nandaka.
Yeah, I realized my thumb was off screen, so I had to move it.
So I've never thought about that before. They've always been separate to me, but now I'm feeling this interconnectedness. I wonder if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, the Buddha himself was saying it's like a four-legged animal. If one is missing, it's like they could. You've seen dogs, and they they can run and walk, but
Yeah.
it's not the
There's a
same as
little hitch in the get up.
yeah. They couldn't, yeah, they can't, and so the more of these that we develop, we may even use animal as but like a puppy, stumbling around, and you learn to get coordinated with your legs, and then the, you know, then they can run eventually. But it's like, so they I think there is a somewhat of a sequence, but there is some of like holographic, like you were saying too, where maybe it's like a spiral going upwards where all of them are developing, but you have to really focus on the first. I think that sada comes up pretty much naturally for a lot of people. I don't know that people.
Yeah, I mean, you may not develop great devotion, or, you know, that may not be your disposition, or it may, you know, there are different avenues of this many-legged, you know, support. But the word in Pali is angena. So, and anga is the inner word there is limb.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
it's the limbs that are doing the supporting. And so I definitely do feel like, although you're stepping up, I mean, I picture, you know, in Washington, D.C., in the Museum of Art with the spiral, you know, as you continue to go by, you see more and more and more.
Anything else? Yes,
Jimmy.
Jimmy? Is it Jimmy?
Yeah.
It is Jimmy. Hi.
Hi.
Aya and Yannicka told me about your group here when I saw them in Minneapolis last week. So here I am. But you know, given that the four-legged animal kind of thought, does that mean that like all those four factors should be kind of equal? Because, or is it okay to have, you know, one be much more prominent in one's practice and other ones less so? I mean, I think it's natural that at different times that's probably true for most people, maybe not monastics. But I'm just wondering about that of the if you're I won't say striving for equal balance.
I think what the way it's spoken here is that seems somewhat sequential, but I think somebody could come in that's already had some experience of deep meditation and some understanding, but it's out of context, and then they hear the Buddhist teaching, and then the sada comes up. I mean, it can be a different kind of, because of different spiritual practices, but then they apply the deepness of their samadhi that they were able to attain, or, you know, to the wisdom, and then it's bringing up faith, and then they realize, I think they would have to be keeping ethics too purely, but but I hear of people that supposedly get some really high exalted meditative states that aren't ethical.
Mm,
But I think it may be Micha Samadhi, which is a wrong samadhi.
mm,
So it may be just kind of very, you know, like, you know, you can get the mind really clear and kind of ecstatic, and you know, like, so it may not be really true samadhi that leads to wisdom unless they're really rooted, or they realize that they're blowing it, and they clean up their ethical conduct, because they realize with the wisdom, the karma, they start seeing into karma, and they go, oh, I don't know if that happens, but usually you have to have, it's a somewhat sequential, and then I think for the average, for the most people, it would, that sequence of but balancing it, I think the balancing it eventually needs to happen.
Well, and also I think that the factor that you're most focused on you may not realize the foundations you have in your ethics and your faith. That confidence, it just underlies there. It's just the water that the fish is in. But I was speaking with someone last time or a time before that I was in Minnesota who'd been following a teacher who ended up committing some ethical breaches. And another teacher had said to them, and I wrote this down, that it needs to be a three-legged stool. You have to grow up, you have to clean up, and you have to wake up.
That sounds like AA or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, AA's got some good stuff in it for sure.
It certainly does.
Um,
It's grow up, clean up,
and wake up.
wake up.
So just waking up, you don't have a stable stool to sit upon.
But is it really awakened? Are you really
Ye-
awakened if
ye-
you're
Well, another teacher had said you may internally have great understanding, but your behaviors have not yet caught up. And that's where the disconnect can really, like if you see impermanence really clearly, but your habit energy is unwholesome, that's where the focus needs to be. So,
Yeah, so it does sound like that we need to keep everything in balance.
in balance, yes.
Yeah, and I think the sada will just grow naturally
Yeah.
and more deeply. That may not, but some people may need to work on it too, at having confidence. And this is,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
uh, I I guess I don't think of myself as a sada type, but I don't. Why, why am I in robes? How did I get here?
We got enough confidence to shave the head. Good point, Aya.
Anyway, well, no, but the thing is, I think I'm a Dhamma. I've confidence in the Dhamma, hearing the teaching, and that like really, and then also seeing people that had a different demeanor and a different. Like there was something different about them, and I started to, say, well, I want to spend more time with these people. Their happiness is not coming from indulging in sense pleasures. What's going on here? I didn't say this, but I think this was,
Uh-huh.
this is what I want to look into. So, but we might not think of ourselves as such. Aw, kitty. So does anyone else have something they'd like to say or share or ask? We could go on. Now there's about 15 minutes. Oops, I need to put back onto share screen. There's the sutta. See what we can do with this. We might have to kind of go through.
We'll just see where we get to.
Yeah, okay, so there's 4 things. So when that is what the Buddha said, when he had spoken, the Holy One rose from his seat and entered his dwelling. Then soon after the Buddha left, the Venerable Nandaka said to the mendicants, "Just now, reverends, the Buddha explained a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure in 4 statements. Before getting up from his seat and entering his dwelling." So this is my question. Why didn't Nandaka go into a longer explanation of this one, but he didn't. Instead, reverence, there are these 5 benefits of listening to the teaching at the right time and discussing the teachings at the right time. Firstly, let me
go
read
through
it.
this one first.
Firstly, a mendicant proclaims a teaching to the mendicants that's good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, meaningful, well phrased, and they reveal a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. Whenever they do this, they become liked and approved by the teacher, respected and admired. This is the first benefit. You had something to say about the teaching in brief, or?
Well, yes, I mean, I'm just making a supposition of what could have been. This could have been along the lines of what Nandaka had been speaking about, and the Buddha was listening at the door, and so he comes in and he just really validates what Nandaka had said.
It could be, yeah. it could
Or he's just dropping a brief teaching in that because he knows, so and so who's sitting in the third row could benefit from this nugget.
But anyway, that was my question, but
Yeah,
we don't know.
we don't.
So this is, that was, okay, I've got two translations. That was Bhante Sujato's. As it's here, friends, a bhikkhu teaches the bhikkhus the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and reveals the spiritual life that is perfectly complete and pure in whatever way the bhikkhu teaches the bhikkhus the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, and so on. Then he is admired and respected. It's pretty much the same. I think that's Bhikkhu Bodhi's. But what I was catching on here is a ida uso bhikkhunam dhammam de seti adikaliyanam maje kaliyanam pariyosana kaliyanam satam sabhyanjanam kevala paripunam parisudam brahmacharyam pakaseti. So does anyone recognize that?
We've chanted this quite frequently, but like I said, I didn't sleep well last night.
This is in the I think it's in it could be in the evening chanting, I think. I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
So if you're an Amarvati, Ajahn Chah lineage, devotional
I
chanting
think it's the
person,
end of the morning. Yeah.
yeah, maybe the morning chanting. It's in the suttas.
Yeah.
But this is an extract, and it's talking about the Dhamma. So I was kind of interested that this is the benefit is to be loved by the teacher. But he's proclaiming a Dhamma that's the Buddha's teaching. That's not his teaching. It's not like he came up with something and he's teaching calculus or something. He's reciting from the bhikkhu or anyone is reciting the actual teaching of the Buddha. This is how I take it. And they said it's
I know
it's
it's
in there.
it's in there. It's in there.
I think it might be
I'll find it later.
evening chanting.
Okay,
It
you're
might be evening
probably
chanting.
right.
We haven't been doing, we've just been doing Itipiso Bhagavahara. We haven't been doing the Amarvati style chanting. We do it when we're with other people who do it. We know it, but anyway, so the way it's translated is that this is the Buddha, as a quality of the Buddha, has pointed out the Dhamma, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. I should have found it, but I was focusing on the other part
I can
more.
bring it up next week if I find it.
Yeah, so this word adikalyana is beneficial in the beginning, good in the onset. And there's this word kalyana, and that's this good, favorable, propitious, beneficial, beautiful, lovely, ethical. So that's where the translation is beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end. I was remembering it because I remembered Basically it's the same except for the word beautiful or good.
Yeah.
And beautiful has a broad meaning, not just as pleasing to the eye, but pleasing to the heart.
Mm.
Something beautiful, like we use that word. It's a modern kind of like take on the word sometimes, and this someone does something really wonderful and we go beautiful, beautiful. I mean, there's that expression, but so, and then this is what the benefit is so satu pio cha hoti manapo cha garu cha bawanio cha. So I didn't translate grab the translations from all the words, but pia is dear, beloved, loved by, liked, pleasant, agreeable. So it was interesting that this was a benefit that the first thing that I I it just so shows the humanness here too, because I think there's this mutual love and respect, because this garu is respect, and so these two words this is liked, I think, and these two words indicate respect. So I think there's this mutual love and respect, as he's not just talking about the teacher loves me, and the teacher, this Satu can indicate the Buddha, the teacher with a capital T. But Pia sometimes has a negative implication where some people, there's one who is dear, there's a sutta called one who is dear.
Okay.
And because the clinging to the dear one, we suffer.
Yeah, but it's the attachment part.
It's
that's
the
negative.
attachment
Yeah.
is what's meant here. But I think this pia can also, I mean, that the monks would want to be loved by this is, I'm sure the Buddha loved everyone.
Mhm.
But this is the thing that Nandaka brought up. But I can also imagine this teacher-student relationship too, where the teacher is pleased because the student is learning what he's teaching. So he's phrasing it well. He's teaching it accurately. He's representing it well. He's not just making stuff up that sounds fluffy and nice. Let's fluff this one up and make it appealing to the public. No.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And we don't have too much time. The second one is teaches the mendicants the Dhamma that's beautiful in the beginning, or good in the middle, good in the beginning, middle, and end, and so on. And whenever they do this, they feel inspired by the meaning and the teaching in that Dhamma. So this person teaching themselves is inspired by the teaching, by teaching it, which is really beautiful. So they've memorized the teaching. So it's experiencing the meaning, the understanding. I did more translating here, but like I said, we might have to, or I'll be gone. If you want to do this next week, but
Maybe we'll see. Yeah.
or
Could
you
be.
can choose, we could look at it another time.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, a mendicant teaches the Dhamma, and whenever they do that, they see the meaning of a deep saying in the Dhamma with penetrating wisdom. So this is if you've memorized and gone over something yourself in order to teach other people, and while you're teaching it, it might be, whoa, you get a deep insight into it as you're teaching. How beautiful can that be? And I'm going to just kind of go just through the elements, just so we can complete the sutta. Furthermore, a mendicant or whoever's teaching the Dhamma, whenever they do this, their spiritual companions esteem them more highly, thinking, for sure this venerable has attained or will attain. So this is another one. It was a little hard for me to grok why Nandaka is talking like this. But this is a fourth benefit. So, and then furthermore, a mendicant teaches or someone teaches the Dhamma, and whenever they do this, there may be a trainee. So a trainee is somebody who is maybe a sotapanna, someone who's attained one of the three lower of the four stages of awakening. So they're considered a trainee. And so they haven't achieved the heart's desire, but aspiring to the supreme sanctuary from the yoke. That's yoga kema. Hearing that teaching, they arouse energy for attaining the unattained, achieving the unachieved, and realizing the unrealized. So then that inspires them to strive on. And there may be perfected mendicants present who have ended the defilements, completed the spiritual journey, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, achieved their heart's goal, utterly ended the fetter of continued existence, and rightly freed through enlightenment. Hearing that teaching, they simply live happily in this life. This is the fifth benefit. These are the 5 benefits of listening to the teaching at the right time and discussing the teachings at the right time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So we just kind of went through that one. So we have just a couple minutes if there's a question on that, or we can end and then we can, it should be brief because we just have a few minutes, and then those who want to stay on in the Zoom audience.
In the post YouTube party.
So, so we could close and have a discussion afterwards. Does that seem good? Okay.
Okay,
All right. Well, so please stay on.
if you wish and have time.
Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Okay, thank you for those who are joining us on YouTube.